At the end of Blood of Hercules, nothing is settled. Trust has been broken, secrets exposed. Alexis is destined for a war she did not ask for.
Bonds of Hercules is coming out October 28th, and if you want to jump in the second it's released, here's everything you need to know. Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Elena and here we talk about books. This is your ultimate guide to Blood of Hercules by Jasmine Mas. If you've read it a while ago and need a refresher, or if you want to skip directly to book 2, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend, here's everything that you need to know. I'll keep it light and spoiler-free to start, but if you're planning on reading Blood of Hercules and you haven't already, you may want to pause this video and come back later after you finish reading it. I loved this book. It was so funny and I could not put it down. I think I read the whole thing in one day. I know a lot of people didn't like the TikTok style modern language, but I thought it was hilarious and I was laughing out loud so much. When I had to put this book down and actually go about my regular responsibilities, I was not happy. I've been waiting for a very long time for this sequel. We're going to go over the main characters of this book, but before we get started, I'll need to explain the world a little bit so that it makes sense. This is kind of Greek mythology meets a dystopian world. The Titans are the bad guys. The Spartans are the good guys for the most part. They're descendants from gods. They keep the humans safe from the Titans. The Spartans are divided into two main categories, the Olympians and the Chthonics. Each of them has a house that they belong to. There's a really helpful guide in the beginning of the book that goes over all of the houses and the heirs of each house and who is a full-blood Spartan and who is a mutt. As you can see, there are a lot more Olympian houses than Chthonic houses, and we kind of see here who is who. Olympians have powers that are generally good and healing. The Olympian houses include Zeus, Hera, Poseidon, Athena, Apollo, etc. The Chthonic houses are from the underworld and their powers are rooted in destruction. Here we have Hades, Ares, Artemis, and Aphrodite. There aren't as many Chthonic descendants, but they are much stronger. Olympians have actually forbid them from marrying other Chthonics. Chthonic heirs have to marry somebody that is Olympian instead. This is meant to kind of weaken their bloodlines and ensure peace between Olympians and Chthonics. There's also a marriage law, so everyone has to get married at a certain age. Since the Chthonic houses are rooted in destruction, the Chthonic families are actually the ones that are responsible for fighting the Titans. A fun fact is that the author, Jasmine Mas, she actually has a degree in Greco-Roman classical studies, so the mythology here is just really, really good. Finally, let's start with the characters. So our main character, our main protagonist is Alexis. She's fought tooth and nail to survive. She is not popular or very liked. She's very poor, homeless at one point. She would do anything that she needs to do in order to protect her brother. Now we have her little brother, Charlie. Both Alexis and Charlie are adopted, so they're not actually blood related, but they kind of grew up together, and Alexis feels responsible for Charlie. Charlie's really her only friend, and he's like her motivation to keep going because she wants to protect him. Charlie also does not speak. Next, we have Nyx, who is a serpent, and she is kind of like Alexis's invisible friend. So nobody else knows that Nyx is around, and she kind of keeps Nyx with her. Now we're going to go into the Chthonics. So the Chthonics play major roles in this book. First off, we have the Crimson Duo, which consists of Achilles and Patro or Patroclus. These two are responsible for mentoring Alexis. They're both Chthonic, but also they're both half human. Next, we have Augustus. He is full Chthonic, and he is a professor. He's very antagonistic, but inwardly conflicted. You learn a lot about him throughout the book. Next, we have Charon. I'm probably butchering this real hard, and every time I read his name, I think about this one part of the book where she calls him Karen, and he goes, "Did you just call me Karen?" So every time I pronounce his name, I have to think, okay, this is not Karen, it's Charon. He is the ferryman of death. If morally gray is like a spectrum, he's definitely on the darker side of that. He is feared by all, and he's very powerful. Those are the main characters, but we also have two more that are important to the story, and that is Helen. She is the only Chthonic heiress. And we have Theros. He is heir to the House of Zeus, and he has a pretty small but significant role in the story. We are now starting the spoilers, so if you do not want spoilers, then pause this video and come back later. Let's get into the origin of the story and the plot setup. Alexis's early years are pretty brutal. She's adopted, she doesn't know her birth parents, and the parents that took her in don't really want her. They don't really want her little brother Charlie, who comes along a few years later. Essentially, they take these kids because they want the paycheck for it, but they are not loving or caring or nurturing in any way. They're pretty abusive. One day there's an altercation between Alexis and the mother, and an incident happens that the dad has to kind of take the fall for. Not like he has a choice. Years later, Charlie and Alexis are on their own and they're homeless. They're like living in a cardboard box. And Alexis has to take this test that everybody needs to take at her age. So she sits down in this huge exam hall and she has to do like a blood test. So she has to prick her finger and then put the blood on the paper. And then something happens and it turns out that she has Spartan blood. She's like, what is going on? This must be a mistake. And she gets teleported straight out of there to the Spartan world. Right away, she gets put into this initiation massacre, which is where a bunch of Spartans have to essentially fight to the death. And then whoever the strongest ones are get to go on to the school of Spartans in a way. Everyone already hates her there because A, there aren't that many Spartan women and they're just not too happy to see her. B, they're like, oh, you are a mutt, the result of some Olympian gallivanting around the human realms. So, strong start. There's this initiation massacre, there's 50 people to start, there's 10 people at the end, and she's one of them. They're kind of like, yay, congrats on not dying. Your reward is going to this crazy school where you might not survive, and there are lots of things that could kill you while there, but you get a mentor. Yay. She gets both Crimson Duo boys, and they hate her already. She has to study and do a bunch of physical activities as well. It's like a Spartan school, and her main teacher is Augustus. Alexis is happy about the academic portion of it because she's very smart and she's very good at learning, so academically she's doing quite well. It's physically that she struggles. Whenever anyone in the class makes mistakes, everybody in the class has to run around the mountain, swim through the river, while the ferryman of death, Charon, is kind of chasing you, and if he gets you, you're dead. Both Charon and Augustus show extreme dislike for Alexis, and none of the Spartans really want to be her friend. However, once she shows that she's pretty gifted academically, some of the Spartans in her class try to form an alliance with her so they can help each other out. So she's in the school and she starts to get these like weird gifts. She has weird dreams. She finds notes being left for her. One day she goes to this symposium, and it's essentially a party that all these Spartans of the Crucible get to go to. Her professors are like, this is no place for women, you should sit this one out, but technically you can go, we just don't think you should, and she goes anyway. For the first time, she sees sirens, and they are very sexual creatures, and essentially this party is just one giant orgy. Some stuff goes down, and a siren dies. Everything goes all crazy, but Charon and Augustus start to treat her differently after that. There's also one part of the Crucible where she needs to get an animal protector, and everyone wants like a cool, intimidating animal, but she gets one that kind of looks like a dog, and she calls it Fluffy Jr. But this also makes you think, wait, what about Nyx? Is Nyx not your animal protector? And it turns out that no, Nyx was someone else's animal protector. I wonder if we'll get more of Nyx's origin story in the second book, because they didn't really go into where she came from. She did say that she was bonded to somebody else before, and that's why she can't bond to Alexis, but they still stay together. The next big scene is the Masquerade Ball. So we all go to this party, everyone's wearing masks. Charon and Augustus just sandwich Alexis between them, and they start dancing and talking to her. They start to get all possessive of her, saying, you're ours, how come you're not wearing the jewelry we gifted you? It was under that eyeball we sent you. She's like, huh? Next, there's a big explosion, a Titan attack. She gets kidnapped. Helen gets kidnapped. Remember, Helen is the only chthonic heiress. And they're all like, oh my goodness, who abducted us? What happened? And it turns out that it was Theros, heir of the House of Zeus. To escape this abduction, she breaks her own hands and she almost kills Theros. Her eyes are glowing bright red. She finds out that she's full chthonic. She's not half anything, she's full chthonic. And she is, as the title suggests, Hercules, the long-lost daughter of Hades and Persephone. Hades and Persephone come forward and they're like, oh my goodness, our long-lost daughter, we love you so much and we take you into our family. Zeus is like, whoa, 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 I'm so sorry for this understanding. So sorry that one of my kids tried to kill yours. Let's fix this by having them marry each other. So then they're gonna form this alliance again between these Olympians and the Chthonics. Alexis is like, this guy just tried to kill me, so I do not want that. But then Chiron and Augustus come forward and they're like, well, she can't marry Theros because she's already engaged to us. Both of them. According to their marriage law, if you give certain types of gifts and the person accepts those gifts, that is a betrothal. Obviously, Alexis didn't know this, but under their marriage law, she has already accepted and they cannot go back on it. Even though Chthonics are not allowed to marry Chthonics, law is law. At the end of the book, she gets married to both Chiron and Augustus. She is so mad at the betrayal because they didn't tell her about this law. She had no idea that she was getting engaged. She was confused about these gifts, and realistically, they took advantage of the fact that she didn't know any of that stuff to trick her into marriage. Strategically, it's a great move because now they can really strengthen the Chthonic house, but obviously not ideal for Alexis, who would like to have a say in her future. After the wedding ceremony, people can stay and watch the marriage being consummated, but Chiron and Augustus are like, get the hell out of here. We do not want an audience. And they have a little bit of action. This was a very slow burn romance, and there are very few spicy scenes in this book. Only one, including Alexis. So they're getting down and dirty at the altar, and she is plotting her revenge. But then we cut to Patro and Achilles. And they're upset. They're like, oh, we wanted to marry her. We wanted her for ourselves. All of the dark powers want Alexis/Hercules. And that brings us to the end of book 1. This was such a perfect setup for book 2, Bonds of Hercules. Even though it was the end of one storyline, like she gets married at the end, there is so much room to expand on this. I'm really excited to see how Alexis gets her revenge. The marriage bond is so strong, and she's already married to 2 people. So do Patro and Achilles even stand a chance, or how is that going to play out? Since I waited so long for the spice in book 1, I am hoping that there will be some more spice in book 2, especially some reverse harem action. I think there's going to be a lot more plot development, a lot more character development for all of the Chthonic heirs. And I'm looking forward to seeing Alexis really come out of her shell now that she knows how powerful she is. For the entirety of book 1, she is either fighting to survive or she is trying to prove how strong she is. Now she knows that she is Hercules, she's deadly, and she is super, super powerful. I loved this book so, so much, and I am so excited. I'm definitely going to go to the bookstore the day of the release and get book 2. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming videos.